let you know what we need. You need to know that Watts is dependent on donations, dependent on fundraising events. We do not get a lot of grant money. We get some grant money, but the majority of our monies that support those 20 weeks and hosting our guests come from donations and our fundraising events.
I would love to see something more permanent, whether or not it's done at different churches or whether or not it's purchased like a building in downtown Winchester that maybe be able to revamp, you know, whether or not there's some type of an old hotel that they can convert and create that as part of this foundation to get people back on their feet again. I would say that deficiencies or inadequacies is not so much in the program itself, but in the length of the program. I think that Winchester is an area that needs this type of service for working homeless as well as just the homeless in the community. And I think that one of the great things that Watts does is help provide that as kind of like a last place for them to go to seek refuge from the elements outside, get a hot meal, get, you know, twice a week, be able to take a shower here and just sit down and have conversation with somebody. Over the 9 years that we've had the program at First Presbyterian Church, we've noticed there's a fair amount of our guests are working homeless. They get up in the morning, they have breakfast, and they go to work, whether or not it's local or if they have a vehicle. They'll take that to work. They'll work their full day. They'll come home. They just don't have a place to put their head at night.
Watts is actually not meeting everybody's needs because there are more people out there who need a warm shelter in the wintertime than there are spaces throughout the community. I know that because sometimes more people come to the door than we have spaces for. But as I understand it, the 35 spaces that are designated are what can fit in the smallest space. So the smallest church, the smallest shelter. It's unique because it's a low barrier shelter, and that's something that I learned recently, that we take people who other shelters won't take.
You know, when we look at Watts in 2018, 2019, what are the needs of the community? I mean, look at how cold it was this winter. And, you know, the people were out leaving the shelter at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there was no place for them to go. Should we be adding shelters? Should we be expanding the 20 weeks? You know, what should we be looking at as an organization to better provide services to the homeless in our community? What we have done, our president has formed an expansion team, and that team now is looking at what are the needs in the community and what are the areas that Watts is best suited to move towards filling those particular needs. So it very well could be expanding weeks. You know, it could be expanding shelter times. We're really not sure what that's going to look like right now, but we're working on a plan for 2018. We're really looking to expand our volunteer base. We wanted people to understand how they can volunteer in a shelter. You know, there's a lot of confusion out there that the churches handle this, that you need to belong to a church if you're going to volunteer at a shelter. So we wanted people to understand where the volunteer needs are, if they would like to serve a meal, if they would like to participate in the shelter. We also wanted people to understand what our public relations and our fundraising needs were. So people who are interested in participating in promoting Watts either through public relations, through social media, or through fundraising activities have an avenue to let us know that so that we're able to bring them in to be able to help them volunteer. We're really looking for help in how do we address the corporate community? You know, how do we better let the businesses know who Watts is and what we need so that we can get a larger segment of those folks who'd be willing to sponsor some of our events, to sponsor Watts. So, you know, that's another committee that we're looking to form of people who can establish what those materials should look like and how we would approach the business community, because that's very different than how we would approach somebody who wants to volunteer at a shelter.